Some guy put lubricant in my rectum, in my anus, and then started inserting objects. Insert objects and put it. Has been a big emotional roller coaster for me and Agatha and our families. So as you're aware, we were abducted in Tanzania by Tanzania security forces, and we were tortured. So when I came back to the country, I said that I will not speak until Agatha is found. And Agatha was found, and we're happy that she's back and alive, and she's here. And I said we'll share what happened to us. So when I went to Tanzania on July 18th, May 18th. I went to Tanzania on May 18th. We were going there as activists to attend to Dolis's hearing, which was supposed to happen on Monday the 19th. And I was in the same flight with Mother Karua and other activists. There were 8 of us on that particular flight. And when we landed, 3 of us were separated. That was Mother Karua, Gloria, and Lynn, and they were deported. I was able to get into the country legally, and my passport was signed and stamped with an empty stamp. I went to my hotel, and I checked in, and I relaxed. And then on the 19th, and then on the 19th, like the early morning hours of Monday, some men came to my room and they were knocking, and they were very violent in the knocking. And they were demanding that I go with them, and I said I can't leave my hotel room at that hour of the night. I said I needed a lawyer. And then at 3:30 a.m., some lawyer showed up and said, "Oh, these people are police officers, you should go with them." And I said, "No, I can't leave my room at night." And I barricaded myself in my room until morning. When morning came, I called Agatha had come from a different flight, and she was in the same hotel with me. And I called Agatha. I was going to check out the same day on Monday morning. So I called Agatha and I said, "Come pick my bags for me and keep the bags in your room for safety purposes, and also because I was supposed to leave the country the same day." So Agatha came to my room and picked my bags. When she picked my bags, I went downstairs and I found the same people that come at night who were waiting for me, but there were more of them now. There were about maybe 10, 12 people who were waiting for me. They followed me to the bathroom and they wanted to arrest me. I screamed in the entire hotel and ran away back to where my colleagues were. They followed me there. They said, "Oh, we just need to take you for questioning. Where is your phone?" I said, "I don't have a phone." So they picked me up, took me to migrations, and they told me to write a statement, which I did. I was fingerprinted, photographed, and then they said, "Now we need to get your phone." I said, "I don't have a phone. I don't know where my phone is." And they took me back to the hotel and reviewed the CCTV of the hotel, and they saw that Agatha came to my room and left with my bags. And that's when Agatha was arrested, taken to her room, which was ransacked. They did not find my phone and my laptop. They took us back to the immigration's office, and Agatha was interrogated for hours, for about 2 hours without lawyers. We went there with 3 lawyers from Tanganyika Law Society, but they were not allowed where Agatha was. They interrogated her. Around 6 p.m. I got a call from the Kenyan ambassador to Tanzania, Mr. Isaac Jenga, who told me I was going to get deported from Tanzania. And I was like, "Okay, I'm happy to go home." Around 6:30, or maybe some 3 minutes after 6, some guy came who said he was from the state office or state security, and he started beating me up. I was being beaten at the presence of my lawyers and Agatha. He started calling me, saying that I'm an inmate, I'm coming to destroy their country, and I'm a problem, they're going to teach me a lesson. And then he said that we're under arrest. So we were moved from immigration office, me and Agatha, to Central Police Station, where we found a guy called, we later came to know he's called Mafuele. At the station, the beating continued in the presence of those 3 lawyers who said nothing. And they said, "We must produce our phones." When Agatha was being arrested during the day, they found her phone. So they had Agatha's phone, but they did not have my phone. I did not give them my phone. I didn't even have a phone at that particular moment, but they said that they're going to teach me a lesson I'll never forget. And that session is where they said they're going to rape Agatha. That day, one of my said he's going to rape Agatha. We stayed there for a couple of hours between I think 6 and 8. The slaps, the beatings, and then the lawyers were chased away and were told if they don't go, they'll be investigated. And the exact words that guy told them, "Nyinyi tutatuma uzalendo wenyu," and that meant that we're going to measure the patriotism of those particular lawyers. They did not leave the station. So the lawyers left us. And when the lawyers left us, they did not tell our families that we were being beaten and being harassed and being threatened, because Mafole asked me in front of those lawyers, "Are you circumcised?" They said, "I'm circumcised." They said, "We're going to circumcise you again." So there's a lot of threats and beatings. I was only being beaten at that station. They did not attach Agatha. So when we were there, they kicked us out of the room, and I said, "I want to go to the bathroom." So someone took me to the bathroom. The young man who took me to the bathroom told me, "These guys are going to hurt you, and they're going to hurt you so bad. Give them your phone." I said, "I don't have my phone." And my fear was because we had gone to Uganda, Tanzania rather, with many other activists. And if I lose my phone, or if they get my phone, they get hold of everyone that I was talking to in the country. So I could not give them my phone or my laptop. So when I went back I went to the bathroom, came back, and we were told to wait outside. Mafole made a phone call to someone, and a few minutes later, some guys came, 6 or 7 of them, very mean-looking people with one lady. It was at Dar es Salaam is very hot, but they were all wearing half jackets. They were smelling of alcohol. They looked so evil. So when we went to the central position, there was a staircase on this side, so we came in through this staircase. But where we were, there was another private staircase, so they took us out with. They took us downstairs to the car, and we were blindfolded and handcuffed on the back. And it was a white Land Cruiser. At the back, there were like a lot of sticks and a lot of fake number, like a number of number plates in that car. The guy across me had an AK-47. They were all in civilian clothes. So Agatha sat. It was a Land Cruiser. Agatha sat this seat. I was this other side in a face me position. And then they drove off. Then they took us, drove for about 20 minutes. Then they took us to a building. To this place where they went to torture us. When you go there, they told me to get off the car. I came out, and then they banged the door on my face. I had a mark here. I don't know if it's still there. I don't know what they were waiting for. I think they were putting some things ready. They got me out. I was still handcuffed and blindfolded, and they told me to strip naked. And I stripped naked. When I stripped naked, they removed my handcuffs, and then I was grabbed by about 4 men, and they lifted me up so fast. Before they lifted me, actually, they put some gloves in their hands. Then they lifted me up. They lifted me up and tied me upside down. There's a photo I saw online about what they did to us. It's in my bag. You can distribute when I'm done talking. So we were put on an upside position where my legs were up like this, my body's up, I'm stuck naked. And then they started beating my feet. So they would beat me and massage my feet. Beat me and massage my feet. I was screaming so hard, I couldn't even, there was no tears coming out because of how painful it was. One of them said, put his hand in his mouth. So they put my hand in my mouth. And they would tell me, stop screaming, the kids are sleeping. And then to drown my screams, they opened the car, because I could hear them, they were playing gospel music in the background. They beat me. Then they removed the underwear from my mouth, and they started questioning me, asking my name, where are you from, why are you here, who sent you, why are you coming to destabilize our country? And then they said, weka moto. So some guy put lubricant in my rectum, in my anus, and then started inserting objects. Insert objects and put it. Dude. They would put objects in my anus and then say you're feeling nice, say you're feeling good. Then you say Asante Samia, Asante Samia. So I say Asante to their president. Then they'll push hard and then it out like then you see I start bleeding. And they dropped me. Then I'm still blindfolded. They took me to a wall. Then told me to face the wall and then squat. Then a man came and was putting his fingers in my anus and then saying that, say you're feeling nice, say you're feeling good, say Asante Samia. Then they would do that. And then they tell me to turn around, I'm naked. So all this time they're telling me they're recording everything they're doing to us, or rather they're doing to me. So they're recording this, they're teaching me a lesson. So I'm stuck naked, they tell me around, say your name, your wife's name, your kid's name, where do you live, where do they go to school. I'm naked. And they removed the blindfold and said now, so when I'm answering these questions, when I turn around, when I'm answering these questions, they are just threatening me. So like when they're abusing me, they're saying I should feel good and say thank their president for doing that to me, like Sema Sande Sana, Sande Sana. So they told me we have recorded these videos so that if you go back to your country and you say what we did to you, we shall put them online and shame you, and your kids will see this, your family will see this, everyone will see this. So while I was naked, they questioned me, asked me my email address, my passwords, everything. And because I was in so much pain and I was afraid they're going to hurt me some more, I gave them everything they wanted. Then they told me to dress up. And that's when they took over to go and torture Agatha. They put back the blindfold, told me to dress up, I dressed up, put back the blindfold, and then left me on the ground. So we spent the night on that floor. I could barely walk, I was bleeding. And then I could hear Agatha screaming. And one of the men was there saying, why don't you give me permission to rape her? Because this one is like good. She looks very nice, let me just allow me to shusha music or like let me rape her. So I don't know what happened to Agatha, but I could just hear her screaming. The following morning, on Tuesday morning, they came and they told us to remove our clothes and to go shower. So my feet were swollen. I could not walk. So I begged them to allow me to crawl like a dog so that I could go to the bathroom. I crawled like a dog to where the bathroom was. That's when they removed my handcuffs. So when I stripped naked, I still had the handcuffs. That's when they removed the handcuffs and told me to take a shower. I was still bleeding, my stool had blood. There was a man with an AK-47 standing there, like wearing civilian clothes. After that, they gave me fresh change of clothes. They were just insulting me and took me to another landward cruiser, another workman cruiser, blindfolded, and they took me away. That's the last time I saw Agatha until now when she came to Kenya. So that was on Tuesday morning. And then we drove and we drove and we drove and we drove for hours and hours until it got dark. I told them I wanted to use the bathroom. They said you can't leave the car. So they gave me a bottle to pee. I was still blindfolded and handcuffed. Then eventually at night, I don't know where we ended up to, they took me to a room where they left me there. They gave me like a soda and a loaf of bread. That was on Tuesday night. So I slept there. I could hear, it was like a postal place because I could hear the call for prayers. And there was like a warm and a lot of mosquitoes. Spend the night there. They just come, insult me, kick me and go. Come, insult me, kick me and go. And then on Wednesday morning, they gave me they gave me a cup of tea and an mandazi. Then that Wednesday during the afternoon, their tone changed. They said now we're gonna let you go, but we're gonna let you go with a very on your kali, which means like a stern warning. But if you leave this country, you should never come back or we'll kill you. If you go to your country and say what we did to you, we'll find you and we'll kill you. And you should never come back. So they said, do you want food? I said, I don't want food. I didn't have an appetite. The other thing is that because every time I wanted to go to the bathroom, they'd actually go there and stand by me like they're inspecting my stool. So I didn't have any privacy. And the only time the handcuff came up was when I went to the bathroom. But the blindfold never came out. So that afternoon they gave me a painkiller. And on Wednesday evening, they told me now you have to learn how to walk because I could barely walk. So they told me to remove, I was wearing open shoes, took me outside. Four officers surrounded me, they're all in civilian clothes. They stood there, removed the blindfold, said now you have to walk and make sure you try and step your feet on the ground. Step your feet. They said we're gonna let you go, but don't ever come back in this country. So they taught me how to try and walk. They made me walk for the half and I said that's enough. And then the following morning, on Thursday morning, they woke me up so early, around 4:35 a.m. They put my things in the car, put me in the car, and then drove for like an hour, stopped briefly, and then they stopped briefly, they spoke outside, then drove again, then stopped again. They told me, you're going to drop whatever you're going to drop. You don't open your eyes, don't turn back, don't look at us until we leave. So they told me, Lala Chini, they kicked me out, slept there on the floor, on the side of the road. And then when I opened my eyes, there was a Boda Boda guy waiting for me. I think they'd already done a deal with the Boda Boda guy. That Boda Boda guy drove me to the border, which I learned was the Horo border, the Tanzania-Kenya border. When they released me, they gave me 20,000 Tanzanian shillings and 400 Kenya shillings. So that's your transport. And so at the border, I got someone who helped me push my bag. They gave them the money, the 20,000 Tanzanian shillings. And then he helped me cross over. Then I used the money to take a border and called my wife. When we went to Tanzania, we went there as friends of Tundulisu and friends of Tanzanians. I'm an East African, I have an East African passport, and I'm allowed to travel freely within the region. Because that's the deal we are. Like we're a regional bloc. I did not go to that country legally, and I did not commit a crime. And that's why they did not take me to any court. So I was able to come back to this country. But when I came back, and when I go to the airport in Nairobi, I asked the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in which they said that I'm asking today. I said I was going to the hospital, and I wanted my medical report to be public of what they did to us. And I'm going to share the medical report today, and it's going to be circulated. Because I'd like the world to know of the very heinous things they did to us, to break us. And they did that to silence us and put fear on us. And it's something that we learned that most Tanzanian activists go through similar things. They arrest you and they take you through sexual torture and tell you if you speak, you're going to humiliate you to your family and all that. And it's what they did to us is it breaks me. I'm not the same, but I know I'm gonna heal. And I want to share this because we have decided we should not be silenced. We should let the world know what happened to us. Yeah, so my government let me down. My government sided with Suluhu's government and said we're interfering with Tanzanian politics. We were not interfering in Tanzanian politics. We were in there as visitors, and we did not hide the reasons for our visit. I've been to Tanzania before to visit another political prisoner, Freeman Boy, who was Chadema's leader before Tundu. I was in Uganda when Bobi Wine was under house arrest. I went to Uganda when Silanyanzi was in jail, visited her in jail. I've done that in many other African countries because I'm an African. And I belong to this continent, and Africa is home. So that's why we're here. So we're here to share our story and to say that our bodies might be broken, but our spirits are strong. Forgive my tears, it's just that, man, my heart is not good, man.
For all that, they were really looking for your phone. Did they eventually manage to get it? And the people who were hosting you, how safe are they if indeed they got your phone?
You can answer that. You have a question about, is it worth it?
Yeah, let me answer that. So, as telling Bonnie, and maybe this is a question we need to speak about here. Every journalist or activist has that worry of security for our devices, and so in that moment when we thought we are going to be killed, I'm asking myself that at what point do you put your life over the gadgets? As journalists, we are told that there's no story worth your life. So I am thinking there's no gadget worth your life. So as a journalist, I always think that I will not give my gadget willingly if it compromises the security of sources. Because in those governments, in this security, whatever, you have some people that give you information, and those ones you want to protect with your life. Now, for Bonnie's phones, I don't know what was on it, and I was asking, did he think through and assess whether this is worth it? And we had this conversation for the first time because I didn't see him until just Saturday when I came to Nairobi, and he was giving me this explanation of that we have people we are working with. We have friends in Tanzania. But I'm still saying, I would only, and that's me. I think that's a moment where everyone has to rationalize and think about what's the best. I'm still thinking people we're working with, we're not working on anything, any crime, any secrets. If we're a rebel group that is trying to overthrow these people that should be overthrown by now, I would say that I don't want them to find that I was working with Manasseh or with, but there was no crime. Even if they had found that I am in Tanzania with General Ulimwengu, they wouldn't find me saying, let's keep the guns here. There's no conversation that is criminal there. Yes, because we are dealing with rogue people, it might endanger them. But I just like to stand in truth. I had been very transparent from the time they asked me that this is what I'm here for. These are people who are colleagues. When they're in trouble, we show up to show solidarity. So if it was in my case, I would have said, oh, you can have them. Look at what I was doing. Look at what we agreed that let's be here for Tundu's case. But all through that, I thought that was Bonnie's decision to make, not mine. I think everyone here, even you guys, if you are in that sort of situation, it's you to think through it and assess maybe a cost-benefit analysis or risk analysis. If it were in my case, and I know you will never find me engaged in crime. So if my phone means saving my life, I'll give it to you. You're not going to find anything that that is, yeah. So Bonnie can say,
I did not think you were going to be tortured because of the phone, so I thought I'd given Agatha some of my gadgets, and she passed the gadget to someone else. And my problem was, if Agatha says we should give them to, then they pick that other person, then they pick another person, and then we'll be all arrested in the same hotel, because all of us in the same hotel. So I thought it was a risk worth taking, but I never thought they were going to torture me because my arrest was very public. So the gadgets were never found, and some brave Kenyans were able to smuggle them back to the country.
but there was never any
Criminal
such
thing.
warrant also for our, nothing. So it was all illegal from the start. It was an illegal process.
Hi, I'm sorry for what you two went through. You've spoken about seeking for justice. And then I'm wondering, have you filed any form of complaint against the Tanzanian authorities, or are there plans to pursue any legal action?
So we're filing a case in Tanzanian court. We're going to sue the Tanzanian state in Tanzania.
Yeah.
And we are going to sue them in every other avenue. Where we will find justice is where, because the international justice process requires that you first exhaust local avenues, and we have to do that. But like I said, we cannot expect justice from Tanzania, but we want to exhaust all other avenues, regional, the EACJ, which unfortunately also sits in Tanzania. And that also makes you wonder if you'll get justice from that, the African court, and political avenues. If there are sanctions for, because for me, I have been saying, let's identify these people and put them out there. If we can get sanctions for them, so we are really trying to say, let's exhaust all avenues and we see where we'll get some sort of remedy. And the lawyers have been working with that. Yeah, so we are going to go everywhere until we find where we can find justice.
Still.
Can we get someone else again?
Hi, I'm Bentala from Radio France. Thank you so much for sharing with us what you've been through. Sorry. You mentioned the lack of or delayed response from your respective governments. Do you suspect that they could have known more than what they said?
Well, when Mafole began beating me at the police station with the other officers, Mafole said that he knows about me, that I was involved in the Kenyan protest, and they burnt Kenya's parliament down, and I was a troublemaker. So there was a bit of information from the torturers that could only come from Kenyan authorities. And I think for them to escalate from an arrest to torture, they had to think that the government doesn't care about us. And that's why I was saying that if it wasn't for Kenyans and Tanzanians and Ugandans who spoke about our plight and our arrest, we would have disappeared forever. Our government was complicit in that torture. And if you look at our Foreign Affairs Minister, Mudavadi, when he spoke, he did not apologize to me, he apologized to Tanzanians that he took our bad manners to Tanzania. So it's very clear that our government had a role to play in our torture.
So it's maybe anecdotal. We don't have any proof that they were involved, but there's corroborative evidence or circumstantial. When the president of Tanzania puts out a statement about how we were there to destabilize or something like that, I didn't read it, but the CDF in Uganda, who is also the president's son, was Kainerugaba, sort of retweets, quotes the tweet and says, that's why she's my favorite. Deal with them or something like that, you know? So while you cannot say he speaks for government, he's part of government and he said that. But also the fact that they didn't raise a finger, apart from the ambassador of Uganda to Tanzania, who also wasn't acting on behalf of government, but was acting because I have an uncle who was his comrade in the bush war, because this is also part of the Museveni bush war. So there are historicals, and he was the former Secretary General for the East African community and had called him and said, find my niece and all that. I don't think he did a lot. He corresponded with my family a lot about me, but I don't think it was as government of Uganda. It was an individual who has been asked for a favor by a former comrade. So the government itself does know where is our citizen, what crime have they committed, nothing like that. So that should be enough for someone to think there are accomplices by action or inaction. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Eva from German press agency DPA, thanks very much for sharing. It must have been hard. But do you think that what happened to you, and given the human rights situation in East Africa in general, that it was also as like a warning shot to any human rights activists, not only active in Tanzania but in other countries of the region? See what can happen to you. You are not safe.
Yeah, that was the purpose of that violence. To warn us, to scare us, to intimidate us, but also to send a message to whoever would like to stand up for their rights or the rights of other East Africans. And I think that's why we are here, to say that we cannot afford to be cowed, to be threatened, to be intimidated. So when they are using sexual violence, sexual rape is associated with shame and stigma. They use that so they know that it will inflict maximum pain, but also dehumanize and shame you. And it has worked in Tanzania because people come out and they say, I don't want to be looked at as a rape victim. And I think this time they got wrong people, because I understand enough to know that I am not the one who should be ashamed because of your heinous acts. Shameful. You should be ashamed. And I dare them to publish those videos, because for me, we need them. There will be proof of their criminality. Now, for you to think that you publishing a video where you're doing something as barbaric, as primitive, I am the one who should worry about it. You must be just a sick person or deranged somehow. So that's why we are here, that was done to us, to make sure they instill fear, they intimidate us from doing what we think is the right thing to do. It's not just right, it's necessary. We have to stand up for all of us. Yeah, so that I tell whoever that might have intimidated and slowed down that, there was going to be a cost for this struggle. There's going to be a price we'll have to pay. So it is either you pay that price or we live in this captivity forever. Yeah.
There's this flower organization we have, it's called East African Community, where this should never have happened because you have passports. What do you think this event speaks to the integration of the region? And do you think you'll be unbowed because you went there for Tundu Lissu, whose case again is continuing? Maybe a comment on that also. And what do you think of EAC, the bloc?
So I think there's integration in atrocities and torture. So Museveni, Ruto, and Suluhu share a playbook on arresting dissenters and activists. So at that level of cooperation, they cooperate, because if you look at the chair of East African Committee is Salva Kiir of South Sudan, and South Sudan is a country in strife, there's civil war, and there's no human rights. There are no human rights in South Sudan. So the integration is actually is a mirage. But when it comes to torture and abuse of power, they share tactics. But when it comes to economic integration, there's none. So
so the case of Tundu Lissu, I think today. It's happening today. And I had a conversation with comrades about it yesterday, and I said, if no one goes there, they have achieved exactly what they wanted. But I also understand the need to strategize and find a safe way of still doing that. I hope even from afar, some of the comrades are following it up to talk about it, to give it the attention it deserves. But I can assure you that as me, Agatha, I wouldn't stop because of that. I think we need to have this conversation and say, how do we do it without endangering ourselves, or what happening again? How do we push back? We really have to push back against that. I wasn't in position to follow it up today. Even when you're brave and in what way you need time to heal, we are still recovering from what happened. But I hope that the others are doing something about it. Yes.
Lastly, Pole, do you feel safe as a human rights activist in this country?
No, I don't feel safe. I've been abducted in this country. I've been shot before in this country. And also been bombed in this country. So I've gone through all manner of hell, but I've never gone through the kind of physical torture that I went through in Tanzania. Do I feel safe? No. Will I stop? I'll never stop. I think I'll stop when I die. When I was being tortured, and I thought it's going to be the rest of life to die in Tanzania. I wish I was thinking about dying in my own country. I spent three nights, 3 days, handcuffed, blindfolded. So there was no stimuli in my mind. So the only thing I had to do, just meditate and think about my life. And I buried myself. I went to my funeral. I had nightmares. But when they let me go, I realized the spirit was not broken. I was afraid that they might kill me. When they were driving that very long distance, I thought I was going to get dumped in the Serengeti, beaten by wild animals. But that did not happen. And so I have a second chance in life. We both have a second chance in life. And I think it would be allowing them to win if I stop doing the work that we've been doing. So we'll continue the work we're doing. I think the pain that I have is that my mind hurts. Like there's a lot of stress that I have that was not there before, because we were violated, that should never be violated. We did things that should never have done to us. And that breaks me, but does not break my spirit. So I may look weak because my body is also weak. I have multiple fractures. I have broken toes on both my left and right foot. I have wounds in my favorite places, like I have wounds all over my body. And they're healing. And I'll be back in the streets. I think the only thing that can stop me from doing this work is death. So as long as I'm alive, I'll continue. Even when I'm scared, I'll still do it.